Welcome back, ball fans. It's shaping up to be another fantastic weekend on Rocky Talk.
Yeah.
Um, I really like these videos when we talk about how great it's been for the weekend. We've had several of them lately.
Yeah.
And so far this weekend, Bob, it's been fantastic up to this point anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you can't gripe too much. We're in the game. It's going to be going on shortly after we shoot this video and put it out. Uh, South Carolina, we're going for the sweep with them. That game's ongoing probably by the time we put this one out. Only negative we can really say Lady Vols got knocked out of the Sweet 16, but making it to the Sweet 16. And
Kim's first year.
pretty impressive. I think that was some poster on BallQuest said it was a top four coaching thing. There's only been three other coaches that I think make it to the Sweet 16 in their first year. Uh, so that's not a common thing. That's pretty unusual.
Yeah, I think one of those was Barmore way back at Louisiana Tech.
Yeah.
Way back in the day when you had really a different game almost.
Yeah, I
Different
think
setup.
the one that stood out was probably Carolyn Peck. She was very successful her first couple of years. They kind of disappeared. But it's looking good. I guess Tim, let's talk about basketball first, since that's we're shooting for a Final Four here. What are we looking at as far as Houston's concerned? I think they're similar teams.
I was going to say, if you want to see what looking at Houston, maybe put up a mirror.
Very defensive. I mean, they do. Well, let's put it like this: they do things differently than us, but they're a very good defensive team. I think both teams are better offensive efficiency wise than what most people probably realize when you look at their stats. One thing that jumped out to me, it was crazy as far as Houston's concerned, is top 3-point shooting team in the country, hitting about 39%.
Yeah, and that's super impressive. And they're going up against the best defensive 3-point team in the country, though, and not allowing that.
Yeah.
So,
What was crazy about that when I started looking at it, it's like, okay, they're the top 3-point shooting team in the country. Let's look at where they're at. So I started scrolling down,
in attempts per game.
attempts per game, and like scrolling. I was like, surely I missed them. And it was like 268 or something. So
They're
jack-
patient.
Yeah,
They take good shots.
they take good shots. Now, the question is, will Tennessee be able to give them a lot of good shots? They don't just throw them up there. So, and they're a little bit on the small side, I think. I mean, Cryer's 6'1", not a big guy. The other two guards that play a lot, 6'3", 6'4", but
Interior guys like 6'8".
yeah, most of their interior guys are 6'8", super athletic guys. I think part of the biggest keys to this game is rebounding, especially on the offensive side. They really go after that ball when it's been missed. So we got to limit that.
Yeah, limit second chance points. That's
something
key
really
in this game right here.
It is.
I might even just say just rebounding in general.
Yeah.
Might be the key to this game. If we can grab some, because neither team's going to put up a lot of shots. So if you can grab a few extra possessions like that,
Mm-hmm.
it can be key, whether it be that they're there or turnovers, either one. Neither team's going to put up 80 shots, like you might see in that Bama game, I mean, that's
Right.
not going to be the case. Both of them are pretty efficient. So you're going to limit their looks.
If we can get to 60, that's probably wins you the ball game. That's
Well,
great.
Vegas is saying 123.
And I'd probably go the under on that, because I think it was 123 was their previous game total, I think. So that's crazy to think about there. But some of their main players, L.J. Cryer, which didn't really their leading scorer for the year, but had kind of one of his down games. Hopefully he has another one today. Emmanuel Sharp and Milo Uzan's probably their top three scorers, are all guards.
Yeah, Uzan had a heck of a game, nice game. Hit 6 3-pointers out of 9 attempts.
Yeah.
Not deadly. And want to say he was, I probably should remember this for sure, but I don't. But I swear I think he was the guy that did the out of bounds play that won him the game.
Yeah.
Nice coaching job right there, too, by the way.
Yeah.
If you Purdue lose the game on a wide open layup on an inbounds play.
Yeah.
That's gut wrenching.
Probably the guy who's their best player on the interior, probably Jawan Roberts. He's time rebounder, had 12 rebounds, I think, the last game.
Yeah, he was all over the glass.
But they're not they don't have like an inside guy that will just dominate you offensively. They're just they try to play great defense. They play efficiently. They play a lot like us in ways that they hound the crap out of you.
They do. And, maybe that's a little reflection of the relationship between Kelvin Sampson and Rick Barnes. Probably each other's closest friends in the coaching profession. They go back 40 years or better, 50 years now.
Yeah.
Since they were, I think, in their playing days, they played against a little bit each other. In some scrimmages and things, they used to get together in the summer and whatnot. And these are two guys that hold each other in great respect. I'm sure each of them is pulling. I know Sampson, he'd come out and said, if we can't win it, I hope Rick does. Rick didn't exactly say the same thing, maybe because he's got a lot of different guys in the coaching profession he'd, want to wish good things to. But he said something, similarly. So these two guys, quality coaches, quality men.
Yeah.
Obviously for us, I'd love to see Rick Barnes get back to the Final Four. He's, the only negative on Barnes has been his postseason success. And 2003, I think it was his last Final Four appearance. And a lot of rumors out there, Bob, how much longer Rick's going to coach.
Yeah, he kind of addressed that in his last press conference there, and he kind of tried to downplay that a lot, just saying that a lot of that got started whenever he said that he didn't know how he was going to coach without a guy like Ziegler, but he said something similar to that about way back and when he first started coaching about somebody else. He said, so he kind of downplayed the whole retirement thing a little bit there.
And it could be many years from now, but at 70 years of age, it could also,
yeah, it could be something. Who knows on that one?
It'd be nice to go ahead and just put him on a championship on the wall there, and if he does go out, go out in style.
Yeah, I'll tell you a guy who I want to give props to because on our team that I was so very iffy about at the beginning of the year because it seemed like he hadn't really progressed. But I tell you what, he's really developed a shot that's helping us a lot. I feel like that's made a difference in our offensive efficiency. Is Gainey. He's hitting that little mid-range jumper, which we haven't had really about anybody do that really well in a good while.
He might be our most versatile scorer because he's not like Dalton Connect in his ability to do it.
Right.
But he can score at all three levels. He can take it to the rim. Probably the best flasher on the team. And they also pull up for that little 12-footer.
Yeah, which Lanier does a good job of that too.
Yeah. Lanier's been improving, by the way.
Yeah.
Bob, I'll let you get back to it because I'm taking a little too much of your time, but I think one of the improvements I've seen in the last few weeks from this team has been the going to the basket.
Yeah, and I think Lanier in particular, he's not just a three-point shooter at this moment. He does seem like he's taking it to the goal better than what he was earlier in the year. His mid-range game has gotten better. I think we're just playing better offensively. If you look at our percentage as the years went on, our offensive efficiency keeps going up the list. So we're doing really well there. And that's one thing I felt like we had to do. We can't be just an defensive team.
Well, the majority of the teams that win it all have been top 6 or so offensive efficiency in the last, I want to say like 9 of the last 10 champions have been really. So the other thing about defense wins championships, offense sells tickets, hasn't necessarily been the case in college basketball for a while.
Yeah.
Offense has been winning championships. And obviously, at this level, you have both.
Right.
But the one you hang your hat on, the offense has had a little bit of an advantage.
Let's get over to football town. Talk a bit about football. Spring practice still going on.
Got a scrimmage tomorrow.
Got a scrimmage. That's one we'll need to talk about whenever that happens. So hopefully there'll be some stuff come out like that.
Information, leak out.
because there hasn't been a whole lot of pad work up to this point. So a lot of it's, you know, information's not a lot out there. But let's hit on some guys who we've heard maybe a little bit of buzz about. Boo Carter right off the bat, a guy who we praised a great deal going into last year. Thought he might be the best talented defensive back we've had since Eric Berry. Now,
That might have been Jamal McCoy.
Jamal McCoy.
But
Yeah. But honestly, I think Carter is starting to show. There's been some real buzz about him looking fantastic on defense, getting the mental part down, and he's done more offensively than kind of what we anticipated. We thought he might just do a little bit of offense, and I still think I don't see him getting more than a few plays a game, but I think they're really taking that seriously. I think he is going to get some touches on offense.
well, that's one thing we had a small disagreement between us on. I thought he was going to give a bit more usage on offense, simply because if not, we don't want to go through the whole is he leaving again next year,
Right.
because we promised him offensive touches and we barely gave him any. I think we're going to give him some snaps. I mean, obviously he's not going to be, I don't think, one of our top 4 or 5 receivers by number of snaps, but I think it's going to be more than just a token snap here or there. I think he's going to have more usage than just token.
Well, speaking of that, Tim, we got some more players we want to talk about, but this might be a good time to jump into scheme while we're talking about Boo, because we want to talk about that some. There's definitely been some scheme chatter out there. Some people are saying that pistol, I think one channel saying that's been confirmed, but we don't think that is like the only thing they're doing. I'll be surprised if it is, but pistol's not a fix for what we had last year. I think you're going to have to do some differences in the passing game more so than the running game. And the pistol
last year
help.
It does
slow down to make the linebackers think and hold their positions a lot of times. There is an advantage to that.
There is, but last year though we had one basic scheme change to try to fix what people was doing, and that was that 12 personnel.
Right.
Did it solve some things? Yes, but when your offense probably scoring 10 points less than what it should be, I wouldn't call that I wouldn't give it an A on my grading paper.
No.
I believe what you're going to see this year is we're still going to have the same basic scheme, in my opinion, but we're going to be changing things up a lot of small changes. Maybe a little pistol work, but not all the time. I think we're going to see some more narrow splits at times, but once again, I think our base is still going to be wide splits. I believe we're going to see some different route concepts, obviously off of the narrow splits.
Right.
Some rub routes, maybe some drags.
Yeah.
Across the middle and whatnot, trying to go underneath the linebackers or right behind them in front of the safeties. Try to take advantage of what some of these teams were doing against us.
And I'd love to see them throw it to the running back.
That's what I was going to say. When I said personally, I said I would love to see the running backs involved.
Yeah, I would too. I think other than the shuttle pass, throwing to the running back was non-existent. And to me, that's not really a pass. I mean, it is technically, but that is something I'd love to see us do more of. And like I said in one previous video, I think one reason why we didn't throw it to running back hardly ever, because we needed them in pass pro. We wasn't happy with our offensive line. We didn't believe in them to protect Nico long enough. Maybe we can utilize the running back in the passing game more this year, hopefully with a better with an offensive line we trust to hold longer.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue back to what you said a moment ago, Bob, about we had a few more players to talk
Absolutely,
about.
Yeah.
Several of them players are the offensive linemen. Coach Ellerby come and talked to the media said yesterday, along with some of his young players. And Bob, maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, okay?
And
lose 4 offensive starters on the offensive line, and there's no reason to expect offensive line to perform better. But that said, I'm expecting to see some improvement overall in the offensive line.
I think they're really happy with the guard play. Our guard play's really been mediocre for a while. Uh, and I think they really like Pendleton and Moy.
Yeah, I think they love Moy.
I think they do too. They talked about him being twitched up.
It's not generally something you hear about from an offensive guard.
Yeah, especially a guy that played at 345 last year.
345, yes.
It said he really recognized and was able to, perform, in action, make changes on the move really well.
Twitched up mentally too, I think. And he's dropped, what, then 25 pounds?
Yeah, I think he's done 325 now. Big difference for a guy like it.
I think the sky's the limit for Wendell Moy.
Yeah, I do too. With those two guys, we might have better guard play.
That's a big shock if we don't.
Hurd, I feel good about him as far as I felt like conditioning was a little bit of his problem last year, and then plus he mentioned in his interview he had some injuries that was little known.
Yeah, he missed a couple of games, which we knew about that one, but then he got hurt again, and he also missed part of fall practice for the injury. He was banged up the entire year.
Yeah, I think he said 75% was probably about the best he was last year. And I think conditioning.
On top of that.
Yeah.
And just new scheme too. Mentally.
Right.
He should be better mentally. He should be better physically. He should be better cardio and just healthy, hopefully.
There's three positions that
Should be improved.
I think. The right tackle, you had Campbell, but man, Campbell only played by half time.
Yeah,
if he'd been healthy, he might have been a good ball player for us.
I'd agree with that.
But
his legs in such bad shape. He was a shadow of the player he could have been.
At right tackle, you're probably got the biggest battle right there on the offensive line. I'm guessing it's probably between David Sanders and Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson, speaking of a guy losing weight, said he come in around 380, I think it was, down to around 245. 345 now.
So say, what did he do, Bob? Like that?
He's dead.
Yeah.
He's like, but
his skeleton weighs 245. But
yeah, and he seems to gain some confidence there.
Yeah, he blew up, got blew up a couple of times. And got Nico about killed a couple of times early on. But you know what? When he had to come in and play quite a bit against Oklahoma last year, I was pleasantly surprised. I thought for the most part he did his job, did pretty well in most plays.
Yeah.
And he's mentioned that he's down to about 340, 345 right now. Actually was last year.
Mm-hmm.
He's kept the same weight, but he's dropping body fat percentage and adding lean muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And just looking at him physically at the podium yesterday, he's one of those guys you want to be first off the bus.
Right.
It's super impressive just, standing there. Obviously, that's not hardly the, what's the word I'm looking for, Bob? That's not what you look for on the field itself.
Right.
You look pretty, you look like Tarzan, play like Jane.
Right.
But I got high hopes for him. If he has to get on the field this year, that he'll do well.
Well, going back to what you said, Tim, I just got high hopes for offensive line. If our guard plays better, Hurd plays better, and honestly, it wouldn't take a gigantic leap for the right tackle to get better. And one guy we haven't mentioned, David Sanders, which is the most talented guy on our team and maybe the most talented offensive lineman in college football. But the guy who is he's very young though. And
He's very young, but he's going to get every opportunity because he's got a big NIL in today's world. Having a big NIL might be better than having a big other things. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean, we'll see. It's just a matter of how quickly can he pick up, the scheme and technique, which they said, it's
very recognition for defense. Yeah.
Very advanced coming in for most freshmen. But, he's got to gain strength, and there's a lot that he's got to get.
It's so difficult for an offensive lineman to
come in as a freshman.
Yeah, you'll see a handful.
Yeah, at the tackle spots. Mm-hmm. It's very rare for the interior guys. But occasionally you can get some guys that tackle. They can come in and do that, especially on these teams that throw the ball a lot. But we'll see. I don't want to try to get too, but even if he ain't the guy, I feel pretty decent about Larry Johnson, and you got Bennett Warren. We got a lot of guys at tackle. We got more guys at tackle now than I can remember in a very, 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 very long time.
Yeah, a couple of younger guys like Trevor Duncans and
Mm-hmm.
and others, Perry.
Yeah.
I think's got talent. They're young.
And the other hurt.
Just have to. Jeremiah's hurt physically, looking like Tarzan.
Yeah. Another guy that would get off the bus looked great.
But the one spot we didn't mention real quickly on the offensive line, and that's Satterwhite. Got to replace Cooper Mays. You know.
You do. And he said he was around 310 now. I think he said the other day. You know, that's probably the key to the offensive line, whether it's going to be better or not. Satterwhite, I mean, it's hard to replace Cooper Mays. But the fact that they don't seem to be super worried at this point, you don't hear a lot of nervous chatter about the center position, is a good thing to this point. And now, coming out of the scrimmage, there might be, that's where you might hear some nervous chatter. So we'll see after coming out of that scrimmage.
I guarantee you that they'll at least be telling Satterwhite, you know, oh man, look at all the things you've messed up on, because they want, you know, they need him to have urgency in fixing anything and everything.
Right.
And if he don't work out for him, we probably see Pendleton slide in there, and then you look at Perry or Umarov at one of the guard spots, which I'll be honest, I'll be fine with them at guards.
Mm-hmm.
Biggest thing is, you know, can we play with the tempo that we want to, and can Satterwhite get the offensive line and the right blocking schemes for the play call? I mean, mentally, as much as anything for Satterwhite right now.
Right. One good thing I like about this offensive line, we'll move on, is that's where I believe I think we may actually have a two deep.
Yes.
And that's rare these days, and it's going to be rare going forward with the NIL stuff. But I feel like we've got a lot of offensive linemen we like. A lot of them young. Just like we was talking about, you know, it's hard for a guy to come in, and there's so much more. I mean, offensive line is one of the positions that mentally is very taxing. You think it's simple, hit this guy in front of you, but the guy in front of you usually may not be the guy you're blocking.
Yeah.
You know
I mean, we pull so much, so you're, you know, you might be blocking the guy 3 yards away from you, while the guy pulling around is going to pick up your guy.
Your assignment may be this on this, but if there's a gap blitzer, what changes?
What changes? Yeah.
Okay, and then you don't know, you know, they're faking the A gap blitz, the big gaps, you know, you got to make changes like that sometimes. I mean, it's a hard position, much harder than what most people believe.
But I agree with you. We believe we know who our starters are probably going to be.
Yes.
But we have competition though.
Right.
I like a lot of spots.
Probably one of the biggest negatives spring practice so far has been the news of Kitzelman injury, had surgery and a pectoral injury. That one's going to be, will he be ready for fall camp? They kind of sound like he would be, but I mean, not for fall camp, for
actual games. Yeah. I'll be surprised if he does very little at all, if anything, during fall camp.
I agree with that. So two things comes from that. It's number one, it's Ethan Davis time, another guy who we have continuously pumped up on this channel. Felt like the guy's got the ability. He's not quite had the inline blocking ability he's been just a little bit off there.
Well, he was a wide receiver basically in high school.
Yeah.
So he's having to learn a ton. He had a good frame to add weight, but you know, it's a process, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's him, Sean Brown, I keep screwing that last name up. I'll get it for you, senior. Maybe. Jack
Van Dosselaar.
Yes, that one's another one I might get.
What's hard about saying Jack?
Yeah, I don't know. That's one way to go with Jack. And
Jack and Deshaun. Okay,
that's one way to go with. But
and of course,
Cole Harrison,
right, who has impressed on his blocking ability.
Right. So that's going to be a position that's going to be watched closely in the spring and in the fall. You know, what do we do there? And you know, there is another portal after spring practice.
Oh yeah, if they don't see a potential answer there, they may go and try to grab a tight end.
They may.
Beyond a possibility.
I mean, we've talked about it in this offense. I know we don't use them as far as as far as catching the ball a whole lot, even though I could see that changing. But tight ends is very important. They were asked to do a lot in this offense, so it would not shock me for them to go portal and the tight for a tight end in the portal.
Yeah, they'll have to get somebody though that they think mentally can handle their
probably an upperclassman,
yeah,
who's got all the minor techniques down, to somebody who they can just go and say, hey, you need to learn
3 things instead of 13 things.
Right.
Yeah, you've already been taught these 10. We just got to teach you our stuff.
Right.
But hopefully, Kitzelman will heal up nicely, and we won't have to worry about that at all.
Right.
But every year is such a big year, you don't want to leave anything to hope. That's why we went out and got 2 portal offensive linemen, even though they feel good about the offensive linemen that they had. I believe anyway.
I agree.
Because they could take a chance.
Yeah, I think it showed you where they went around things. I think it showed you that they felt like this was a crucial year, and they had a lot of things that were up for grabs as far as different positions, wide receivers, which we talked very little about at this point. But there's just so many things that are critical. And I think they felt like if their offensive line was better, then the wide receiver play was going to be better, quarterback play was going to be better. A lot of things were going to be better if the offensive line play was better. But there's just so many things they've got going on, so I wouldn't doubt they don't go portal for another tight end. We'll see, though. I'll be interested to see what happens here in about 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm. One other thing, Bob, before we get out of here, I'd like to talk about is what you mentioned early on. The baseball team going for a sweep on the road.
On the road, yeah. On the road, yeah. That's not easy to do. South Carolina's not one of the top teams in this conference, but man,
the opposite actually. They're struggling a little bit to start the year out.
But man, I tell you what, if you used to throw them in, Big 12, I'm thinking they're probably a top 5 team over there. This conference is so tough. When you start looking at like some of the power rankings, and like, oh, this team's like 10th in the conference, I think it's top 20 team. You know what I mean? That's how tough this conference is. So
It's much like baseball this year.
It really is, yeah.
It's a baseball. It dominates baseball, college baseball.
Right.
And any road sweep is huge. If you're just winning the series, it's huge. So we've already done that.
Right.
But I agree with you. South Carolina would be a much better team than another conference.
I kind of expect a big win today. I think we'll put it on today. I could be wrong there.
I agree with you. And by the way, a quick shout out. I saw where a softball team beat Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Anybody knows ladies softball? It is Oklahoma and everybody else.
Right. So that's a huge victory.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, we can make a whole nother episode talking about this, but somebody had showed, like it's a Nebraska message board there the other day, and somebody just brought up the conversation of Tennessee sports, and do they have, one of the best all-around sports programs in the country right now? And they was, with any message board like that, there's going to be a few idiots, and like one guy was trying to say that their stadium was considerably louder than Neyland, which is a joke. But anyway, but a lot of the guys there was very complimentary. Was saying, we're good at about everything. We really are. I mean, honestly, our athletic program probably best in the country. I mean,
I don't think there's any doubt right now.
I mean, we're right there.
Texas is tough right now.
Alabama's tough.
And there's a lot of good athletic departments in the country. But there's a reason there's only been one right now that's made the College World Series, made the Sweet 16, made the College Football Playoff. Women's teams made the Sweet 16.
Yeah. It's a good time to be a ball fan.
Yeah. The only thing we haven't done a lot of is actually win national championships. And we do have one in the holster.
Yeah.
And if everything goes right in the next week or so, we could have a second one.
Maybe. It would be nice.
I tell you what, I'm feeling kind of good. I don't want to jinx them.
But I feel much better than I did even a week or two ago.
I think we're playing much better.
Much better. Yeah, much better. Offensively, especially. Well, guys, remember to like, subscribe, comment, hit that notification bell. We sure do appreciate you. And, leave a little comment in there. That always helps with the algorithm to get things moving, to get our channel pumped out there to other people. We appreciate you, and go Vols.
Go Big Orange, guys.